Oh, I want to run about something. How I tend to view shows that go on for a while. That are like, I don't know, maybe 6 seasons, six, nine, seven, 8 seasons. Is that like the first 2 seasons, and then followed by several episodes in later seasons, is the real show. Uh, because like, and like all the stuff that isn't part of these first few seasons, and a few episodes, several episodes later seasons, that's not really the show per se, like the main part of the show. I kind of just view that as filler. Now, I think X-Files doesn't exactly fit this because, and this is kind of something about X-Files that I don't like, is how they literally can't keep the story straight. And I don't know why that would be an issue. Like, that just doesn't seem like something that should happen. I mean, how hard can it possibly be to just not mess up the story? And they did that in X-Files multiple times. Like, for example, the Syndicate was a big one. So, like, earlier seasons, which is what I consider the real show, the real story, how it worked is that, there was the Syndicate, they had power and stuff, and the cigarette-smoking dude was, like, kind of their representative. Okay, is that how it originally was? And then what happened was later, because, when you have, like, a show go on for so long, and, like, there's money, there's ratings, the network wants to just do all these dumb things, I assume. Just all kinds of stuff goes on, different writers, etc. The story becomes flooded. That's why I consider Mumkey's anime reviews one of the best shows of all time, like top 5, because it's one unified vision. Now, there's plenty of flaws with it, and I think if someone did kind of the same thing, but they could do it much. I think someone could do what Mumkey's anime's reviews was better, and it would be one of the might actually be the best show ever made. And I actually might do that, actually. Something like that, eventually. But anyway, so if X-Files, the best example I can think of, like, just to show how the show just kept changing the story, like, a bunch, is probably is Syndicate. I am repeating myself. So, yeah, you heard what I said earlier, just a second ago. I don't know why I'm doing this. But anyway, so, what they do is they do the Syndicate. They're there for several seasons. And then there's, like, the whole thing, Mulder's sister, that's the big mystery of the show. What happened to her? And then we learn it. What happened to his sister was, I'm trying to remember, her father, I can barely remember, actually, because it's not my fault. I don't think it's my fault I remember, though. It's the show's fault, honestly. It's like her father had her, like, a payment to the aliens to go on the ship or something, and something happened. I don't remember. But it's not my fault. I don't remember, though. It's the show's fault. The story was not very clear. There's just all kinds of changes they did for no reason. So something like that. But then what happened was the Syndicate, they go to the aliens, and then the aliens, it's a trap, and because it's the flamethrower dudes, not the Syndicate, not the colonist, and so they just kill them. And maybe they did that, and the only person who survives is the cigarette dude and that one woman. I forget who she is, though. So then what happens is there's one scene in the next season, maybe the first episode or something like that, early on, where there's actually, like, another Syndicate that the cigarette dude's in charge of. And when I say one scene, I mean they show up for 1 second. Like, it just, maybe, I think it's like at the end of the episode or something, he just walks through a room, there's all these business suit guys So that's like the next syndicate. And then the problem is, and something you notice, I've only watched one of the movies, and I did it one time. Which actually, I don't know why. Maybe the movie was bad, but I only watched X-Files Fight the Future. And I barely remember it. And I think that's the movie's fault. Like, I remember the show much better. And it's weird because I was actually older when I saw the movie. So that's kind of weird. But anyway, God, I remember, like, the first season of X-Files far more than even the later seasons I watched. Even though I watched those years after. That's kind of crazy. And I think it's also a testament to how the show's message, like, the message of the show, well, when I say message, I don't mean, like, a political message, like, some meaning. No, I mean, like, kind of, like, every show, like, is just communicating a story or something, and, like, the communication becomes skewed, I feel, the more people you have involved, because the vision is unified. And when it comes to TV shows, and why most TV shows aren't even, and movies are literally not worth watching, period, at all. Looking at You, The Walking Dead, and Game of Thrones, absolute garbage shows, is that there's just so much people involved. There's so much factors that utterly skew the vision. So, like, there's no real artistry to it, okay? Because it's not like you're looking at a painting. Okay, like, it's not like you're looking at a painting and you're like, huh, there's like all these fine details, these little things. In shows, even though they could so easily put all these little details, it's so rare. Like, 99% of shows are just utter garbage that they're like 99. It's actually kind of crazy to think about, but 99% of shows, movies, music, games is literally so bad. They're literally not even worth knowing exist. Okay, and that's kind of crazy to think about. Now, something though about me is I think I have a far above average conception of a lot of these things. Like, I've listened to easily over 1,400 albums. Definitely. I absolutely have. I actually have a list of 1,200, and the other 200, it's just stuff I can't remember enough to put on the list. Like, I can even think of some albums that I've listened to that I just don't remember anything about, besides, like, roughly their sound. But, like, the fact I can't remember them, they're not even worth, talking about, really. So, I'm not going to spend so much time trying to remember everything. But, like, I've listened to, I feel like that's a far above average amount of albums, people. Like, most people, some people, this one guy, you don't know him, he's on Discord, his name's Serty. He's a moron. But anyway, he actually claimed that people don't even listen to albums. Now, that's hilariously false. And, like, that's actually ridiculously false. It's so easy to disprove that because, come on. Like, are you serious, Serty? So much people have listened to an album. Like, are you literally kidding me? Like, Dark Side of the Moon is probably... Like, the fact that Dark Side of the Moon exists is proof enough you're wrong. Everyone that's probably one of the most listened to albums, period, Dark Side of the Moon is. I mean, that's like the most listened to album, barring none. I mean, are you kidding me, Serty? You're so obviously wrong about that. Like, come on. Just admit it. You're already such a, full of so much self-loathing. Just admit you're wrong that people listen to albums ever. Come on. And you even have, these horrible defenses. I'm like, but what about the millions of album videos on YouTube with thousands upon thousands upon thousands to millions of views? And you're like, Oh, people listen, and you have like the dumbest kind of defense of that, which is they listen to parts. You have to try to do that, City. It literally would take more effort to just listen to like take less effort to like. What does that even mean? People want to listen to parts. What does that even mean, Serty? It would literally take less effort to, if you want to listen to like a song off an album, you could just listen to the song. You don't even need to know the album. And it's like, why would someone go to the album so they could click at so they could look up the part of the album to listen to a set of 2 songs that chances are aren't even going to link. That's the weirdest thing, and I've actually I've done that with like one album, and the only album you would ever the only reason you would ever listen to a part of an album and not the rest is because the album's literally bad. An example I can think of is pretty much every Radiohead album, where they're just chocked to the brim full of filler, and they have like 4 good songs, which, Radiohead is not a good band. They're extremely overhyped, especially by the so-called musical patricians, who think that Radiohead is in any way an artistic band. No. They're like, it's like Radiohead, they're like on the same level as Blur. So if you think Blur has even a modicum of artistic depth to them, I mean, yeah, I understand why you think Radiohead is, artistic. They're not. They're literally a pop band, but whatever. You know what I'm saying. So, yeah, I used to listen to the first 3 songs on Kid A lot, and I listened like a few of the later ones. The rest of the songs are complete garbage, including a ambient track that I don't know why it's there. Actually, I kind of hate that. I kind of hate when like an artist who isn't an ambient artist has a mediocre ambient track. It's like, you don't even know how to make this style of music. Just make, like, you're literally Radiohead's literally a pop band. Just make pop music. Why would you have like a 1-minute ambient track? What are you doing? And I saw on Amnesiac where they had a 1-minute track. No, it's like a 1-minute track or 13 seconds, something like that. And it's just literally the same guitar chord. It's called Hunting Bears, actually. I remember because it's such a garbage track. Like, why is it even there? Literally, why did you make this? Like, it's not. It's like a minute. It's literally the same guitar chord. That has no meaning. Why is it called Hunting Bears? It's literally one guitar chord for 50 minutes. It's just like, what is that? I mean, 50 seconds. Like, what is that? Why did you make this? But yeah, Radiohead garbage. Anyway, so if X-Files, what they did was they just literally, how hard is it to not change things about the story? Like, how hard can that be? I swear they changed the story of X-Files 3 or 5 times. And they just kept doing these weird things. So yeah, how I view it is the first few seasons is the real story. And then the story episodes for the later, a few of the episodes in the later seasons after 3. And that's X-Files. The rest of it's just bonus content if you're a big fan of the other stuff. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. Okay, I guess that's all I have to say, really. How I view shows that are very long as pieces of art is I look at the first few seasons and maybe some stuff from the later seasons because the rest of it doesn't hold up. The vision is even more skewed than ever because usually the guy who, the people who had the original idea, they usually have less of an input if it's a success because, they want to sell it more, etc. Yeah.